Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Ramblemancy. Um,
See?
Nope.
we are joined tonight with our guests, the hosts of Stonehouse's podcast, Kaitlin and Bernadette. Thank you for coming.
I've just noticed that our the names I've written in the camera reverses on your end, so our names are in the wrong spot. But just
It's you know what?
have a fun time with that.
Yeah,
That's okay. The movie posters are like that too. The names are never lined up. It's fine.
true.
that's true. It
It's
it
part
drives
of,
me
yeah,
nuts.
it's hip.
But yeah, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having us. Be here.
Yeah. So tonight we're going to be talking about folklore, which is mostly just my prediction is it's mostly going to be me saying stuff I know nothing about, and then Kaitlin and Bern correcting me. So,
Hey, no, that's our whole show. We just say shit we don't really know shit about, and
Fair.
then hope for the best.
well,
We
welcome to
get somewhere in the
Ramblemancy,
end.
where we do exactly that.
Yay!
So, before we get started, we have some announcements. Henry, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, wouldn't I? Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy to see your names in chat and to share this evening with you. Let's go. There's a lot of ways to support and or keep in touch with us. You can subscribe right here on Twitch, where we are affiliates. We have a coffee. We have a Discord where that's the wrong button. We have a Discord where we talk about lots of stuff, including our stream time announcements. We have a YouTube and Anchor thing, which are good places to find the video or podcast forms of our actual play show Infinite Horizon after it airs. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at chat. Hello, hi everybody. Hi Spigs. What else do we have? Oh gosh, we got a merch store that has things like this. There you go. Look at that. And
Ooh.
you can scroll down and click the panel. And we have a Patreon where patrons and Twitch subscribers will find our second and newest character journal from Infinite Horizon. That's from Peach, played by
I
Olivia.
haven't heard it yet. I feel like such a bad fan of my own content.
Oh gosh, it's so
Olivia
good.
is a writer. Yeah, it's pretty sick.
I'm so excited.
So just to be clear about this, the $3 and $5 tier things on Patreon are also available to the best of our ability. I think all of them are to Twitch
Yeah.
subscribers, so you don't have to pick and
We've
choose.
we've retooled a lot of like the original rewards so that were more easy. They were like easier to share amongst like Twitch subscribers as well. So, through our Discord actually. So,
Yeah, exactly. Through that, you'll find that in the subscriber rewards channel, I believe, in Discord. We're also rolling out this next couple weeks some new stuff on Patreon, which comes in the form of a media club channel on Discord and a list of just like recommendations, basically, and stuff that we are interested in and why we like it. And we encourage people to share their own thoughts about their own things and or criticize our tastes. I'm only saying that for myself. You're not allowed to criticize anybody but me. And also a thing that we're calling, this is what I'm excited about, the tabletop tool chest. Is that right? Did I say it right?
It is.
Yeah. Which are just like little kernels of inspiration and ideas for pieces of the world in tabletop role-playing games. The first one will be fantasy NPCs. So look for those coming out in the next few weeks.
yeah,
I'm pretty excited about it.
the tabletop tool chest I believe is Sunday. Sunday is when the first one will go up. So,
Yes.
yeah. Amethyst Cat Lady says, "What's the tool to chest ratio of that?" You know,
Wow. That's a good
it
question.
really depends on our level of creativity between now and Sunday. So,
Mhm.
TBD. One chest per tool, Nico says. Tiny chests. Yep. So yeah. Was there more? I think that was the stuff that's coming out. It was just the journal, the media recs, which are coming in a couple weeks. And then the tool chest. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
Well, then let's get into tonight's episode. We are once again dropping frames on this end, so let us know if it gets really bad. It hasn't gone over the level that we were at on Wednesday. Um, so and everybody said everything was fine then, so I think we should be okay. But if it gets really bad, let us know and we'll see what we can do. But this might just be the new normal. So
A lot of new normals.
a lot of them. All right. Well, tonight we're talking about folklore with Kaitlin and Bern, and if you guys want to introduce yourselves and the like your podcast and what you do.
So we do a usually weekly podcast called Stone Houses, an amateur guide to fiction, fable, and folklore, and it's just kind of the two of us shooting the shit, picking a topic, and then researching separately, and then kind of presenting what we found to each other. And we usually end up somewhere at the end. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's fun.
But yeah, I'm Kaitlin Bruder.
I'm Laura Bernadette Meeker. You can call me Bern.
I have moved our names around.
Cool,
That was
cool.
I didn't even see that. Good job.
That was a nice.
Slick.
Stealth.
Perfect.
Well, this is a perfect meeting because we kind of did the same thing with Ramblemancy. We always, we kind of sit and do the same thing, and at the end of it, we kind of reach an interesting conclusion that we never had, we never expected.
Yeah. Yep. The line between point A and point B is never a straight one. So.
No, it's true. It's true.
So, Henry usually has the perfect way of starting us off.
Oh, does he? All right. I got a way tonight, and if it's not good, we'll do something else.
All right.
Here's my starting point. It's very dumb and high school English papery, and it goes like this.
My favorite.
What is folklore?
That's a good question.
Answer only if you like.
Ooh, man.
It depends on whether you're looking at it from an academic perspective or from the perspective of a layman. It's one of those things that's been in debate for like the past 100 years because folklore has that flavor of talking about primitive civilizations where we say this is folklore, it's important, but it's not part of our tradition, so we're going to put it on like a lower base than mythology, which is more codified and theistic. But folklore generally is a collection of stories passed down, usually orally, throughout a culture or throughout a geographical region. But it's usually people who are part of the same ethnic groups. And it can be pretty much anything. Like anything that becomes told enough that it's almost mimetic can count as folklore.
Yeah, I would say a good portion of it is ways to scare kids into being good,
or explanations for things that
you don't understand. Or,
yeah. For a very long time, the way that you dealt with uncertainty in life is you knew a story about it, or someone knew a story about it. And when we say that, like, no one's making up these on purpose to be deceptive, it's not like they set out to say, we're going to make up a thing about this. It's usually a pretty natural development, or at least a progression of old stories.
Holy shit, that was great. Here. Sorry. So I think, like, I thought about this for a few seconds, which is way less than the two of you have thought about this kind of thing. But when I hear about folklore, like, I think of it as stories. But what do you think about stuff like folk remedies, like stuff like that, like not like, I don't know how the right words for it, but like non like mainstream medicine cures like that, or
alternative medicine,
or adages? Yeah, exactly. It's like, does it cover? Is it wide enough to cover all that kind of stuff? Is that folklore, or is that something else?
I mean, I would say there are things like that in folklore where it's like, if you crush up a rock and then bleed on it, then this will happen. Like medically, like there is like stuff like that to ward off folklore creatures. I would say folk medicine is probably its own realm.
I think part of it is because the idea that you are in this world where nothing makes sense, so you have to come up with rules in order to like mentally survive. And that's how you get like folk tales about, you know, iron over the door, like a horseshoe or something. But folk medicine, I feel like, falls into that realm of alternative medicine, which Kaitlin knows I feel very strongly and negatively about in the modern sense.
Yep.
Yeah. That's not, we won't, this episode's not about that.
Yeah. So,
Thank
but
gosh.
the idea of like when people are like, oh, ancient Chinese medicine, basically goes down to, I dug this up, and if a bunch of ancient people did it from a foreign place, then it must be important.
Yeah, I will say, like, a lot of back on the, like, we like to make up, or not make up, but come up with rules for how things works. A lot of, I mean, human history just in general is people like to understand things, and they like to be able to rationalize things and put things in boxes. This is does this because this. Because if you don't know things, it gets scary and like, well, am I in danger? I don't know. So like a lot of folklore and a lot of like old traditions and stuff falls into that category.
There's also the idea that humans, because of the way our pattern recognition works, it's to protect us from predators and help us in the wild. But to help us in the wild. But as we've shifted over post-agrarian, we have the idea of like, where does all that mental patterning go? And it goes to finding patterns in other people's behavior and in nature that don't necessarily mean anything.
That's how you get like stories that are from completely different places that are essentially boiled down to the same thing.
Convergent?
Yeah, sort of.
Convergent.
I mean, there's even like there's like stories from a different, like a lot of similar stories from the same place that all kind of get boiled down into one thing, which is what we get with like Grimm's fairy tales. Which were ton of like a bunch of the similar stories that people just, you know, oral storytelling, and eventually got turned into one. And then there's there's things that we see. I can't even remember. I think it was a recent episode we talked about. I don't even remember what specifically it was, but like a very, very similar like creature or story that has almost all of the same elements from very different places that might not have ever had contact. Maybe they did, we wouldn't know, but like things like that, we recognize patterns. Are you having fun? Oh, we're in the same room.
yeah. We were, Amethyst Cat Lady brought up what we were talking about earlier, that Kaitlin and Bern look like they're in the same, like in different rooms, and yeah.
Oh, by golly, it does actually.
Wait, were you not here when we were talking about that?
So it looked even more like.
I guess I wasn't, or maybe
we did purposefully change positions a little bit to make it look like we were more in different rooms. Welcome to my streaming setup. Normally I'm in the middle of it, so it's not so much, but when there's one person on each side of my wall. Yeah.
No, we've actually had similar conversations on Ramblemancy before about like the similar stories from different traditions, with like very similar details. And like one of the things that has consistently come up in the past is that concept of like archetypes. Right, like in like the human subconscious, like right, like the Jungian archetypes sort of thing, that like there are certain ways, like certain patterns of thinking common to all people that like bring up certain like things. And once again, as I say every time I bring that up, I have already said more than I know about it, but that's like that I know that is a thing that I've read before, about like that, like the like as an explanation for like why there would be these different from like same stories or similar things from wildly different traditions. So
sorry, I pointed out to Bern der Panduin's comment. That sounded way too smart for Ramblemancy.
I saw that.
Wait a minute.
No, he's right.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh no.
If you've listened to our show, you know what you're getting into bringing us on this channel.
I'm also like, I'm not an expert. I just have the vocabulary of someone who's pretending to know more shit than they do.
Or also like you like read Arthurian like legends, and like that's one of your favorite types
I love
of things.
learning.
So, yeah. That we used to talk about. I think in one of our first episodes of Stone Houses, we talked about how like Stone Houses is just kind of an excuse for us to research. Like it's what I think you specifically said, it scratches our research paper itch.
Yeah, if
like,
we don't do Stone Houses, I would just be writing up like internet essays on like parallels between this music video and this piece of mythology or
Yeah.
something.
Ah, I love it.
Oh, you should do that too, though.
Yeah, you should.
When I get the hang of video editing.
Yeah, no, video editing is one of those can of worms I have refused to open for myself because
The world's come a long way since Windows Movie Maker.
it really has, and thank God. Because, but yeah, no, like that's okay. So that's something that I know that has always really fascinated me is the idea, but of like these common threads between cultures, like how even if the stories aren't similar, like the story beats are very similar, or like certain details stand out and are common across various cultures, stories and things like that. And that's something that's always been fascinating to me. I know the least compelling explanations for that is any sort of like any sort of justification of like the veracity of these folktales is like, oh no, they were real because of this, and like, right, like that's, I'm too skeptical for that kind of thing. So but
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry. People have this misconception that like before the kind of age of exploration that humans were really separated, but we really weren't. Like we found, not we've not me,
Specifically.
archaeologists have found currency from basically halfway across the world in like contemporary ruins of the Indus Valley civilization. So they were making currency, and that was getting incredibly far away from them in a world before even like the father of history. This is, and they had, I just love the Indus River Valley civilization. They had like some crazy cool city building infrastructure.
Yeah, no, like I know very little about that, but it's something that that always comes up in like in certain contexts that I'll see it, and it's always interesting to me, but I never know what to look up when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm about to do a deep dive into some of this stuff after this. I'm really fascinated. Like you mentioned earlier, Arthurian.
Arthurian cycles and legends. Yeah.
That's something I'm really into as well.
Mhm.
Apparently, the intro for that episode has been a very big hit. People won't stop bringing it up to me, and it makes me very happy.
Oh no, I haven't listened to that one. I'll probably do that tonight.
I probably, yeah, me too.
I fell into an Arthurian legend Wikipedia hole like a couple weeks ago too.
Oh,
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh god.
When I was
so
a kid, I found like the whole King Arthur cycle thing really boring up until I realized that it was basically like a bunch of people making stuff up. Like it frustrated me that none of it made sense because it wasn't one story,
It's
but I
all
didn't
fan
understand
fiction.
that at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
it's all fan fiction.
the thread that like tell me if I'm wrong about the way that like the two of you approach folklore and stuff like that is like the way to do it to make it fruitful and enjoy it is to not look for like some pseudo-scientific origin to like explain stuff, but to appreciate it as, like you said, like a mimetic storytelling thing that is like a signifier of people. Like it's not a science at all.
We do a little bit of everything, kind of.
Okay, good.
Like Stonehouses just kind of ends up us being whatever seems interesting about it. Like we'll approach the.
I want to talk about that.
We will. We definitely can. Whenever we like approach something, we come at it. We'll talk about the science behind pieces of it. Like we'll talk about the folklore in the different regions where it shows up in other places, and then we always end with pop culture, like where it shows up in like movies and TV and books and comics and stuff. So it kind of ends up being everything. We focus on like the stories and the people, but like we do when it's applicable. Like we did the Big Gray Man of Ben McDouie, which is a big like shadowy tall figure that people see with a halo of a rainbow that people see in the mountains, specifically Ben McDouie, but it's seen in other mountains. But we talked about so much science in that episode of like why people see it, because it is genuinely something you actually can see on the mountains, and it's your own shadow in the clouds. it's really really
gosh.
cool. But like when it's applicable, we'll talk about the science of it.
Right,
Of what we
yeah.
can
Done a lot
grasp.
of-
It's fun.
We've done a lot of really big umbrella episodes lately, so
Yeah.
I think sometime soon we'll
Mhm.
have to do a
A single
smaller thing
topic,
so we
yeah.
can deep dive into something smaller.
Yeah, it's fun. It just kind of depends on the topic, but yeah, we kind of try to hit it from as many angles as possible. Just because it's intriguing and it's fun to like learn as much as you can about a very specific topic.
Yeah.
I like hanging out with Kaitlin and learning.
So I want to so you guys looked like you had something that you wanted to address in chat, and I think this is a good
Yeah,
time to
Bern,
move on over to that.
This one?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
this one?
Gemini Lightning said, fascinating tidbit. In Western culture, you wear white at weddings and black at funerals. In Far East Asia, you wear black at weddings and white at funerals. A thing I find really interesting about that is the idea of having fabrics that are particularly difficult to color or expensive to produce. But the thing that always gets me about white weddings in the US is that Queen Victoria, I feel like people already know this, so I don't know why I'm saying it. Queen Victoria started the like white wedding thing because her wedding was like the first like heavily publicized royal event in Western history. So keep in mind she had influence over half the world. She was getting married and they took, you know, all these etchings and whatever, and it was like the most world news about something completely
Relatively mundane.
like it's not a war, it's not a death, it's a wedding. And so everyone, it was the same with Christmas trees because
Queen Victoria also for Christmas trees?
her husband is German, and the tradition is German, so they had etchings made of the royal Christmas tree, and that's why English-speaking people have Christmas trees.
Was Queen Victoria the one we talked about
Huh.
who climbed Ben McDewey and like
Probably.
I don't know because there was a fun fact about her drinking whiskey on Ben McDewey.
Oh yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Yeah, wait a minute.
That's
I know
really-
this.
that shit happens all the time. I'll be like, oh man, this is a weird connection
Mhm.
to our last episode.
That's an example of a thing that to me feels like really old, like almost like it just self-evidently true folk traditions that are not that old, like they're 150 or 140 years, whatever.
A fun one is pink for girls and blue for boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up until very recently, it
Mhm.
was pink for boys because red was seen as a masculine color, and
Yep.
blue for girls because it's the color of the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
you know, it's
Yeah.
all advertising.
It's all just
Good
PR.
tagline for a history podcast.
It's all advertising.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
That's all it is.
It's just
Yeah.
what can we do
Yeah.
to get this piece of information to a wider audience?
Yeah.
Looking at you,
I did. There was
Constantinople.
It's all PR. It's all PR.
this was from Amethyst Cat Lady says, fun fact, Indigenous Australian groups have passed down stories about megafauna for ages. Colonizers ignored them until they found evidence of it until recent years, now realizing the Indigenous groups essentially had first-hand accounts of these ancient creatures, which is really, really cool. We actually recently did an episode on the rainbow serpent, which is a gigantic world-creating rainbow snake. That is very cool. But we talked a little. We didn't talk a ton about other types of fauna, but that is something that came from my research too. Is a lot of like the gigantic animals that show up in a lot of lore. Like there's always a little bit of truth
I
to
was-
folklore.
Recently reading something about Aboriginal cultures in Australia, which is that they're like less internally consistent than Westerners think, which makes sense because, you know, we really like to squish it all down to
We like
one
things
culture.
to make sense.
Mhm.
One box.
Yep.
But they were talking about the theory because these groups were so tightly condensed and there's so much of Australia that's just uninhabitable that they have, in many ways, the strongest oral tradition of any culture on Earth, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
And also
Wow.
important to note, as always, especially with like Aboriginal tales, there is not one story. There are many Aboriginal
Yep.
groups, and they all have their own cultures and lore and stuff. But that was one that came up a lot with like a lot of these Aboriginal groups had different, similar, but sometimes a lot of them differently named stories of this gigantic creator
Or
snake.
it's like when you hear about like Native American legends, it's
Yep.
you know, like 15 different distinct tribes with their own names for things
This
that,
continent is huge. There's not one. Like,
and
Yeah.
it always comes
so
back to
many.
some white guy who's like, I have published this book of native stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, this is kind of unrelated, but fuck Nathaniel Hawthorne.
We also talk about this on
Ooh.
Stone Houses.
That's
Damn.
related to the idea of, it was early American writing and insufferable, so.
Yeah. I feel you.
Never read it. Never read him any of his stuff.
Don't.
So
A lot
So
of
I
people-
shan't.
What's the book that you're forced to read in high school?
or maybe I have.
That would be
The
where.
Scarlet Letter.
Yeah, that's the one
Oh.
people would know it from.
Oh no, I haven't read that
I managed
actually.
to avoid it actually. So.
Yeah, I did
I-
that.
Same here.
We got a choice. We got two options,
Mm.
and I read the other one, which I think was
Um.
the one about witches, Salem witches.
No, you're thinking of The Crucible, which is usually read.
No, I'm saying we had an
Oh,
option to read one or the
right.
other. I read the Crucible instead.
The Crucible, which you might know as a metaphor for the Red Scare.
Yep.
Arthur Miller, married to Marilyn Monroe.
Oh.
Hmm.
Huh.
So that's fucking wild, right?
Wow. This is
Wow, we're getting really into
I love
this
it.
is so cool.
I love it.
We're
Yeah.
just full of like small fun facts, and we tie them together, and that's how our show works.
That's cool.
Okay, I actually did have a question for you guys, which was what out of like the thing like the various things that you've covered on your show, what has been what's one of your favorites? Not necessarily to like the like
Doulahan.
Oh,
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
I was gonna say not necessarily like your favorite episode of Stone Houses, but your favorite of the things that you've covered in Stone Houses.
Headless things.
Yeah.
They're my favorite. I love them. I think they're so cool. Doulahan, Blumyes.
I like talking about
Headless
magical
Horseman.
girls. I don't know.
Headless
That was a fun
Horseman.
time.
Although I always love talking about the fair folk because I'm a big fan of like scary fair folk.
We'll have to do that. We have to do a
Okay.
hold a folk episode.
I just got to the books in Discworld that covered to Lords and Ladies, which has like scary fair folk, and it's excellent. Extremely
Yeah.
good.
Mm.
I did
That's-
say Red Scare because Arthur Miller was among those prosecuted during the Great Cleansing of Hollywood. I don't know what you want to call it.
And naming names and like blacklist things, all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we did a full episode about magical girls, that whole genre of anime, which was a very fun
That was
episode.
fun.
It was very good. We kind of have been every once in a while lean into like the pop culture bits. We also did an episode about Sappho, who was a real life person, but like there's cool lore around her, most of which is not true. So that was a fun episode.
She's mythologized.
She's mythologized
There's-
as a human being, but yeah.
There's a town called Sappho out in our neck of the woods in Washington. It's like a tiny podunk place. It's
Sounds right.
isn't that cool?
We have a
Wait, there
friend
is?
painting.
Yeah,
of
there
Sappho in
is.
our-
It's-
Yeah, there is. It's weird.
I think famously there's
Pull-
a
Huh.
Cairo in Illinois.
I didn't even know that actually until recently because of this whole Facebook group of go out at 8 p.m. and howl at the moon. And someone added me, and I added a few other people, and I found this person who's like, "Hey, Washington folks, from that place." It's like, "Who's in
Good for them.
Washington?" I'm like, okay, Fort Townsend.
Oh gosh,
So that's when I heard about it. It was like 2 days ago.
that is a very Western Washington thing. That's such a that's
Yeah,
that tracks. That tracks.
it's true.
What about you guys? What is your favorite piece of folklore creature?
Thanks for picking up my next part of the question, which
Oh,
I had
okay.
I'd completely forgotten what I was going to say next, and it was that. So
That was one of the questions I wanted to come in with was what is your favorite or like story or creature or piece of lore or something?
While we think about it,
Mhm.
Bern or Kaitlin, could you tell us a little bit about the origins of the magical girl thing? Does that go back further than the genesis of anime? I sort of would assume it does,
Yeah.
but
Good question.
Yeah, that was it's been a while since we did
Do
that
you
one.
remember the great origin of all magical girls?
Sally?
No,
Bewitched.
before that. Bewitched. Yeah,
Bewitched.
Bewitched. The TV show was extremely popular in Japan.
Huh.
whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it all came from.
Wow.
And that turned into Sally. What? Sally the Witch?
Sally the Witch
Was a
was
comic?
in. No, Sally the Witch was an anime.
Was
I
an
think.
anime? Yeah, it's really cool. Like there's a whole like arc, whatever. There's a series. If you listen, I have to look back. There's a series that we mentioned in that episode of a girl
Magical girl Minky Momo who gets killed by a truck.
Concise
there's a good
title.
YouTube series where someone goes through the entire history of magical girls, and that's where I got some of my info for that episode. It's very, very cool. But yeah, our single 1 hour episode is pretty much hyper condensed because it's so much bigger than I would have ever imagined. I was mostly just like, let's do this for fun. This could be cool. And then it was like, I'm so intrigued by like the history of magical girl as a genre.
I say genre, but
Trope?
Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know. It's cool. It's very neat.
That's awesome. That
Cool.
It started with Bewitched.
I had no idea. That's so cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that either.
Derpenduin asked, do we know about the Nuklavi? Sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but I thought it was great because it's a demon just for Kaitlin. A horse-like demon of Arcadian mythology that combines equine and human elements.
I hate it.
Catherine Briggs called it the nastiest of all the demons in Scotland, which is saying something.
Wow.
There's some pretty nasty
Wow.
demons in Scotland.
Are there
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, they
We
think
have to do an episode on that now.
it might be slightly related
Huh.
to Kelpie. Wow, it looks.
Ooh.
Here, I'll bring up a picture. A
Um
lot of them
Why
are
are there so
drawing
many
it as kind of
scary
a skinless
horse
horse.
hybrids? Ugh.
We'll have to do
A
a
skinless horse, but there's a skinless human
Hmm.
body without a head grafted to the top where a rider might be.
Mm-mm.
Hot damn!
Well, that fits
Got
in the
it.
headless
love
things
it.
too,
It
right?
does, yeah.
No,
Kinda.
'cause it's got a horse and I don't like it. Oh, weird. That's
It's
actually
ain't-
really cool. Here,
It ain't got no.
here, it'll show up if you get really close to the camera.
It's ain't got no skin.
Oh, epic.
See if it'll focus. Sometimes
Gross.
it'll get it.
Cool.
It doesn't like that I'm in there. Come on.
That is
Oh, there you go.
That is quite interesting.
Whoa.
So it still has its horse's head.
I love
Okay.
it.
That's
we'll have to
interesting.
we'll have to do
Huh.
an episode on demonic horses just to spite me.
I
I-
mean,
yeah.
we already did Kelpie, and I feel like that was.
That's fair. That
I
can
gotta
be
say,
pretty inclusive.
I agree with Gemini Lightning. It does look like a D&D creature. It absolutely
Yes, it
does.
Well, a lot of folklore gets co-opted into pop culture like that. Like so many tabletop RPG like enemies and creatures and stuff are pretty much just
Oh, yeah.
plucked from folklore and
If
just
you've-
adjusted a little bit.
If
and
you've
put
ever
in.
looked at the the first edition Pathfinder bestiaries beyond the first one, hell, even in the first one, like a lot of that stuff is just straight up snagged from folklore, from various folkloric traditions. Like there's so much stuff in there.
We actually have a thing with tabletop RPG corner or D&D corner where I find the equivalent of the whatever we talked about in D&D and we talk about the stats. Baba Yaga is my favorite. Fucking look up Baba Yaga.
She's great.
She's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Her teeth are a separate entity, and if they're not getting along, the teeth will join her like whoever's antagonizing
Oh
her
my
to
God.
bother Baba Yaga.
Oh my god.
Mhm.
CR20.
Okay,
She's amazing.
Can we talk real fast, like since we're on this kick, and then we will absolutely answer the original question.
Oh yeah,
We'll get back to it
just
eventually.
asked.
Definitely.
Since
We'll
we're
get
on
back
this,
to it.
since we're on the RPG kick right now, like
Yeah.
can I talk about like a thing that has always bothered me ever since I was like a kid. I've since come to terms with it. I'm still not happy about it, but it bothered me since I was a kid and I first picked up like the 3.5 monster manual. Was the fact that in D&D there's a creature called a gorgon, and then there's a Medusa, and the Medusa is a type of creature. It is, whereas in
Not an
It's
individual.
kind of
Not
like
an
having
individual.
like
Mhm.
flesh construct and then Frankenstein.
yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
like I've been watching rewatching Community lately, and there's that episode, that Halloween
Both.
episode where Troy's like, I'm a sexy Dracula, and he's like, don't you mean vampire? I don't need to know which Dracula I am. Like, it's like that. That's something that's always bothered me ever since. Like I since came to terms with it. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's just part of the lore. But
Why did that make you laugh so much?
what's happening? Why is
We
Caitlin
have
dying?
a long running joke wherein people will correct others that you know how people will be like, actually Frankenstein is the monster.
Frankenstein is the scientist.
Yeah, or whatever. Where we
Yeah.
just incorrectly correct people or say that Frankenstein is actually something else. It's not a great inside joke. I'm just explaining why Caitlin is laughing so much.
Fair,
No,
fair.
it is great.
After their comment of it's having a flesh monster and a Frankenstein, and then after a second they're like, actually Frankenstein was the boat.
Frankenstein was the author.
Oh,
Making
gosh.
Caitlin laugh is like starting, I don't know, it's like starting a fire in a room that's already filled with gasoline where you only need a little spark, but it catches and the whole thing goes up.
Man, where'd Caitlin go? It's hard to see her under that bus burn just threw her under.
It's true though. There's so much shit on like Stonehouse that I have to cut out because it's just me fucking laughing at something I said usually. Like
On one occasion, didn't actually say, but thought about saying.
I didn't get the joke out and I was already laughing.
Good. That's amazing.
It's great.
This is what you miss because Stonehouse is an audio only.
Yeah, this is a special unedited live camera look.
Unedited, and you can look me in the eyes while I cry at something that's not actually that funny.
Makes me feel great when she laughs at me.
Oh god.
Oh my god, there's so much chat to catch up on. I've not been keeping
Oh
up.
gosh. No, I haven't either. I've been very distracted.
Can I say one more D&D related anecdote?
Yes,
I'm
go
so
for
sorry,
it.
then we'll answer the question. Okay, this is just
I have a
this
feeling
is
we're
me
never going to
barfing.
actually answer this
Yeah,
For the
question.
rest of the episode.
This
Okay,
is
one more
definitely
thing and then
just-
we'll answer.
yeah, exactly. This is definitely just me barfing out something that that's a gross way to say it, repeating something that I read on the internet today,
Mhm.
and it's
That's
that
our whole show. That's fine.
yeah, perfect.
For the
The
word regurgitate.
element cobalt is named after kobolds. I've always wondered that.
It is.
And it's because apparently, according to something I saw today, when miners found, I think probably in Germany or somewhere near there, because I think that's where kobold folklore is from. They dug up cobalt and they thought it was silver, and then they tried to smelt it or something, and it let off arsenic gas because it wasn't silver, and then they
Yep,
thought they were
it'll
like,
do
oh, it's
that.
doing this because it's been like cursed by these little underground goblins called kobolds. They're just like, they're such silly little tricksters trying to poison us when we dig up the wrong element, and that's how you get cobalt.
That's
Awesome.
amazing.
Huh.
It's you know what, so I learned that in a really like sort of roundabout way, and you would expect it was from like D&D related stuff, but it was actually the opposite. I learned about that in an actual science class where I had to like pick a specific element and do a report on it. So like I chose
That's
cobalt
amazing.
because
Sounds pretty
it
funny.
sounded cool. I don't know, and it was way cooler than I thought because it involved goblins of some kind. So
Mhm,
like
there
it
you
was even
go.
cooler than I thought it was.
If you could choose one element to write a paper on, what would it be?
Cobalt, apparently.
Tungsten.
My tungsten.
I don't know. It's a fun mouth
It is
sound.
fun to say.
I
It's
like
like
saying it.
a verbal drum beat.
Tungsten. It's cool. I'd give it a run
Ramblemancy.
tungsten just so I can
Yep.
say it.
Tungsten.
Honestly, we talked about me getting spaghetti stuck to our kitchen wall and fucking up the paint in our last episode. That had nothing to do with the topic.
Yeah, but that part was really good. I have an answer for the question now, unless
I'm
somebody else
excited.
has things to
Go
say
for
about
it. Go.
elements.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I like my favorite one is the goat man, but that's because it scares me the most. And I'm not really sure if I think maybe I mean like goat-like humanoids in general, because I don't know if there is a goat man, but something about that is terrifying to me. Like thinking about what that looks like.
It's more of an urban legend, I would say, than folklore, which I don't really know what there's differentiating.
Well,
But
I would argue urban legend is basically what we call folklore from the last 100 years.
yeah, so like that's how
Yeah.
we kind of I
Yeah.
don't know. We call things that are newer like an urban legend, like
Usually things that you can trace through text or print.
That's what I was going to
the
say. Is like,
origin.
is it seems like folklore has more of a yeah. I was going to say
Oh,
folklore
yeah.
tends to have more of a tradition behind it rather than like urban legends, which are just sort of a thing that sometime within the last like
urban legends.
Yeah.
There is a goat man specifically, but there's also,
There are many goat
men
men.
with goat. Yeah,
Yeah.
but like the
And then
goat
there's the
man
men
with
who
the
stare at goats.
bridge and stuff.
And then
The men who stare at goats.
Mhm. Yeah, that one's fun though. That was an episode that was one of our early episodes where we were like, "Hey, warning off the top of the episode, this might be scary," and the whole thing was just like so goofy. Like we could
I remember
some
that.
of our episodes and we give like a warning, like it's actually kind of gruesome shit, but like that one, I was like, "Oh, some of this is kind of freaky, but we're not very scary."
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
Brendan, it's horrifying. I'm not scary, but that is one that we did talk about. I did like that. I did like that creature. I think the Goatman's pretty fun.
Gemini Lightning asked a question, which was, "Did you like Dread?" And I will say yes, I loved it, and I'm going to
Yes.
publicly out Freeman and Henry for not watching it right here, right now. So
It's very good. You watched Dread, didn't you? I made you watch Dread. Or did you
What's
watch
Dread?
Madness? Sagas
I thought I
of
watched a
Sundry.
little bit of it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I watched it.
Yeah.
I think Freeman, you and I showed you most
thought
of
you were
it.
talking
Yeah,
about
you
the
showed me. Yeah,
game?
you showed me some of it.
Yeah,
But I do need to watch
No.
more of it.
There's more than there's.
it's
You're allowed to have more than
It's the
one
only D video game I know off the top of my head.
It's- is Sagas of Sundry all out on YouTube now? I can't remember.
Only Dread. They
Only
haven't
Dread.
put Madness out yet.
Okay.
Well, then I'm gonna have something to do then.
Yeah,
I made Remy watch
Other stuff
watch
to do.
Dread.
Wait, is Dread? That's not the one where they play Jenga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Half LARPing, half
yeah,
RPG.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
So
I know
the-
I've seen part of that, but
I
not
showed you
much.
like the first episode
Yeah.
or two of it.
That's probably
yeah.
that's what I saw.
How
So
is
the
it?
system is called Dread.
Okay.
And that's the
Yeah.
playing a tabletop RPG with a Jenga tower where
Oh,
if it
nice.
falls, you're removed from the game or you die. That's the system. But they also called the first series of Sagas 100 because I don't think they knew they were going to make another one. So the second one is
Yeah.
called Madness, but it's, Dread is the name of the game. I actually have the book. I think
Oh,
it's right here.
nice.
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
I
okay.
have the book.
All right. I see it.
Cool.
It's very small. You probably can't.
I actually have an answer for the question too, which is I had to look it up to make sure that I was like saying the right thing, but my favorite I think was probably I wouldn't necessarily limit it to one thing, but there's a lot of similar things that the one that is the most known I think is the Boggart.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's I think it's from is it Celtic Scottish tradition, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's Celtic. I don't know. Wait a minute. I've come across it a couple of times. But I
Yeah,
haven't...
and it's basically like a mischievous
Yeah,
household
that's it.
spirit is pretty much what a boggart is, and like I love shit like that. Those are like my favorite, like
Oh yeah.
the ones that are just like not necessarily like out to actively cause harm, but the ones like let's cause some
I think-
mischief.
Brownies?
Let's fuck with people. Yes, brownies.
I think I will
Photo
cause
book
problems on
sometimes?
purpose.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Gremlins, right? They're
Gremlins?
kind of more destructive.
Gremlins 2.
A lot of fairies.
Gremlins,
just like
yeah, the best
fairies
film
in
ever made.
general kind of have
Yeah.
that vibe.
Yeah, I'd say so. Freeman, do you have one?
Yeah. No, I don't have one.
Oh, okay.
No,
fair.
I have a bunch. I
Yeah,
love them
throw
all.
a couple at us.
Okay, demons. Demons are great.
Mm-hmm.
It gets kind of weird. Well, angels. That's another kind of an interesting one.
What if they're the same thing?
Well, yeah, they kind of are. I think.
I think canonically demons are angels,
angels?
fallen angels, and spirits are
Who have risen
Elves
to
who-
power.
stuff on Earth is angels who are trapped on Earth when the gates of heaven close.
Oh, yeah.
That's what elves are.
Fairies.
Fairies.
Hold the folk
Hold the
too.
folk.
Hold the folk too.
I actually
some
did not know
fairies.
And
that.
then
That's
someone
super
was
cool.
invisible.
That
Yep.
is cool.
And then
Huh. I don't know. That's it. I mean, there's
Angels
more.
also on my
That's-
list of things I want to do.
There's more, but
Yeah.
You can just like throw them out periodically through the rest of the episode.
Got it.
just- we can
All
just
right.
chat about
as
whatever.
they as they come up, just sort of throw it out with no context.
exactly. That's what I was gonna do. Yep. Be great.
Yeah. Oh, what would Ramblemancy be like if we just said things with no context? That's crazy.
Totally different show.
Yeah,
Completely,
totally different. I'm sorry. I'm laughing because like I've gotten the same notification about dropped frames, the same number of drop frames every 2 minutes for the last like how long have we been on? That whole time. It's the same number of frames every time. Anyway, I think we're still doing okay. Nobody has said anything, so
Yeah,
think
let
we're
us
good.
know if we're good. We should be
Loch,
okay.
Loch Ness. Loch Ness.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a yeah.
My mom is in love with and like obsessed with like the Loch Ness monster stuff. There's a place in Wisconsin called Lake Pepin, and it's basically just a swell of the Mississippi, but people say that there's the Loch Peppy monster there, Peppy is apparently in that one, and it lives in the Minnesota River, specifically in Lake Pepin. My mom loves that so much. She wants me to illustrate a children's book about Peppy.
Oh my gosh, that's
That would be okay. That's not a bad idea though.
yeah, that's
I
pretty
think
cool.
that
I
book-
think she's like trying to like buy the copyright to Peppy, like because
Oh,
someone had it and it went out
somebody
of
owned
copyright.
that?
Yeah, someone owned it and then it like went out of copyright, and she's like, well, I want to like makes it because it's a bunch of tourist towns. My parents love this place so much, and they want to like help the tourist whatever of it. And so my mom's like, this would be a cool way to bring interest, and everyone could have a hand in like Peppy, whatever. So yeah, my mom has been trying to get me to do a Loch Ness Monster episode for so long.
That is weird that you can own the copyright of the name of like a dubiously extant animal, like or
Because
whatever
it's
it
like
is.
not folklore. Like that one isn't folklore. It's a
It's-
tourist trap. Like
Yeah,
it's not-
okay.
It's like
Well-
explicitly kind of made up.
yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say there's close-ish to us in British Columbia. There's Ogopogo, which is a lake
Yeah,
monster
yeah,
that
yeah,
lives
yeah.
in Lake
Mhm.
Okanagan.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I think there's lots of lake monsters, right? They're all over the dang place.
Mm-hmm.
They must be absolutely real.
Absolutely.
Clearly. I will say, Gemini Lightning said earlier, my favorite story is the Korean myth of 7 stars, which is about the Big Dipper. Okay, this rings a bell to me, but I'm not sure I'm familiar with this one. Okay, one of the things I like so much about episodes of Ramblemancy that are like this is it gives me so much stuff to look up later. I love episodes like
Exactly.
this. Amethyst Cat Lady says Banshee. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
And
That was one that was an early topic that we were gonna do and then never happened. Was that
Yeah.
before we were like a real show? I don't know. I remember doing research on a
knows?
banshee. That was never an episode, but I have
I think
distinct
that falls
memories
into
of.
the category of like, aren't old women scary?
Yeah, a lot of folklore is actually that, so
Oh gosh, wow.
they can
yeah.
encompass most of it. It's old, scary, sinful women scaring children into
Mhm.
doing things properly. Like that's a huge chunk of folklore.
yeah.
La Llorona,
Ooh.
Baba Yaga.
The banshee has a scream
Hags.
too, right?
Mhm.
That's the thing that's kind of terrifying too. Just like
The
walking through the
banshee's
woods
wail.
and then the
Oh,
whale.
I think the Doulahan has ties to the banshee. Maybe that's
That
what
sounds-
I'm thinking of.
Probably.
That sounds right to me, but I know very little about that.
Man,
but
I'm right.
that sounds. Also, Gemini Lightning, if that is a link to the story, I thank you very much. Would you mind posting that in the
So
Ramblemancy Discord channel? That way we can all kind of like look at it later. I would love that. Oh gosh, what was I gonna say? Yes, Freeman.
Amethyst Cat Lady mentioned krakens.
Oh, yeah, Krakens.
Turned out to be giant squids.
Yeah, that's right. God, do you remember there was a time until very recently, like the giant squid was considered to be like not a real thing
Yeah.
until very
Yeah.
recently, and then they actually like found proof of
I
one.
think
They
they-
actually like
mhm.
filmed it or something. I remember seeing the video.
I just wonder when I hear stuff like that, how much of it is. I doubt at any point that a squid attacked a boat,
Yeah.
but I do believe that people saw squid and then also lost ships and
It's
were
like,
like, I'm gonna
oh,
own
look.
those squid.
Oh look, a giant thing with large tentacles. I bet it eats ships. Like,
hmm
Makes
Amethyst
sense.
Cat Lady is getting ornery.
Oh,
I have to mention
Skinwalkers.
Skinwalker.
While I was in California with my parents, my dad was like, "Oh, we're in Skinwalker country," and I was like, "Would you know about Skinwalkers?" He's like, "They can." He said they can run on their elbows at 60 miles an hour.
What the fuck?
So, bad brooder Skinwalker fact.
There are a bunch
Skinwalkers
of
are
different skinwalkers.
Yeah, there's a lot of. They're not singular, and I feel like when I first heard the name of them, they're not what I would have imagined.
Some of them are kind of like werewolves in that
Mhm.
they have like a skin
Yeah.
of an animal that they can like put on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like they're a bear now because that's what Bjorn is based off of. They call
Mhm.
him a skin
Yep.
changer.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I listened to. I listened to like a 5-part episode series of a podcast a couple of years ago about skinwalkers. It was like the entire history of like the Skinwalker Ranch and like all of that. I can't think of what it was now. I can't think of it. Bad at names.
I think love that you that's your 5 episodes.
They did. I can't think of the name. It was literally several years ago. I can think of a letter.
Literally several years ago.
Several years ago. Hold on. I know it's.
Oh yeah.
The
one Amethyst
Astonishing
Cat
Legends.
Lady is referencing is like harmful witch. What they say is harmful witch that can shapeshift into animals. You know that the animal is a skinwalker because it won't have eye shine, which is fascinating. Like an eye underwater, I guess.
Yeah.
Which puts me in mind of what's the name of the onsen owner in Spirited Away?
Oh.
Yeah.
God, it's been years since I've seen that movie.
Oh man, I feel like an amateur all of a sudden because I watched that so recently.
Yubaba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we
Baba?
go. Yes.
Yeah.
Because she has like a twin sister.
Yeah,
who's
Zenibaba.
Yeah.
Zeniba, sorry.
Zeniba.
But it makes me think of that, and also in the Discworld novels, a big component of witchery, or at least Granny Weatherwax's witchery, is borrowing minds, like riding on the back of a mind of a bird or something.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, people like to make up myths about kings being asleep in mountains. Is it because the mountain itself kind of is like a natural temple?
Maybe. Yeah, like caves and stuff, or like, what was here before? Is this a room? Is this a place?
Or maybe it's also like they're in this important place, but you can't go there because it's a mountain.
On the topic of mountains, being like seeing huge mountain ranges and stuff, like when I being in Iceland, like look like sleeping people sometimes, or you see like faces in mountains and stuff, and that is like one of my favorite like Icelandic myths is like trolls that like are turned into stone and become mountains. Like I think that is so cool. I have so many photos that I'm like, it looks like a person. You can see them taking a nap. It's so big. It's so cool.
That's actually
really
a
neat.
thing that I think gets left out quite often when people are talking about like trolls in Lord of the Rings, that they have the same thing. Like like in The Hobbit, for example, is the best example where like the trolls, Gandalf keeps them arguing all night until the sun comes up and turns them to stone. And because like that's just like a thing in the lore of Middle Earth. That's just like a thing. And
that's also to jump back
Dells. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, in the Discworld books, which I'm super obsessed with at the moment, they do have the trolls are silicon-based life forms, so they just look like big rocks. Which I'm super.
Oh, that's cool. I was gonna say that to go to what Derpenduin's saying, and to jump to Lord of the Rings, it's the idea of the hero or the king being so threatening that even after they die, they protect their countries. That kind of is like, and I've just been like binging the shitty internet watered down version of like Middle Earth lore recently. Like the Durin, the dwarf king, like there's been like 7 of them, and they're sort of the same person reincarnated. And they talk about the idea of Durin sleeping, like while there isn't a King Durin. And all of Tolkien is definitely from like these like European mythology and folklore.
Absolutely.
But that's.
I mean, Tolkien wrote for the Arthurian cycles.
Yeah.
He wrote some Arthurian stories.
Fiction.
No way.
I have very mixed feelings about Tolkien.
That's fair.
I'll always have a kind of childhood love of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. But you know, Tolkien.
Yep. Yeah. Like, you know, that whole thing of like, let's make all the brown people the evil humans.
Yeah.
On the topic of something a little easier to make fun of, top 10 horrible adaptations, The Hobbit trilogy. I rewatched it recently with my sibling over Discord when we were living apart, and they were like, you think you want to watch these second 2, you're not going to like them. And I'm like, but they'll be like bad funny. And then I was complaining the whole time.
Yeah.
They weren't bad funny.
I will say, like, I was, when people were complaining about the first one before the last 2 came out, I was like, I was okay with most of the complaints because, like, no, it's fine. It's because the whole thing is Bilbo telling the story, so it's bound to be over the top and ridiculous, except then the other 2 happened, so.
The wild thing is, like, when they actually let the actors get face to face and act out dialogue or character moments, it's fine.
Yeah.
But they spend so much of the time, you know, shunting them into CGI battle. Anyway, it's a very, very bad couple of movies, and you shouldn't watch it.
Yeah.
I haven't read the book, but I liked the animated one from like the 70s.
Oh yeah,
I love
Rankin
that.
Bass.
Yeah.
Rankin Bass.
Yeah, I have it on VHS. It was
That-
it gave me nightmares, and I watched it so many
I love how
times.
that is like a recurring topic on this show, like since day one of Ramblemancy.
that
Like
movie.
that
I think
movie.
I brought it up more
It's
than
weird
once.
that we don't get more stuff like that with the. I really don't mind rotoscoped animation.
Yeah, no,
and
it's
I feel
great.
Like
It's
people
cool.
get on Rankin Bass for using that. Like what?
It's a really cool. I don't know. The style of it is so distinct to me. It stands out so
Mhm.
much from like any other animated thing I remember watching as a kid. Also, like,
Yeah.
also on brand of the only movies I've ever seen came out in the 70s.
Caitlin's seen 12 movies.
And most of them were from 1978.
Yep.
Cool. You know, it's
But,
sorry, I was
oh,
gonna.
Anansi the Spider.
Oh,
That's one we
yeah.
haven't done, but a story I enjoy a lot.
Anansi is cool. I'd like to talk about Anansi, but I feel like there's so much like tertiary stuff that goes with him where my brain is not ready to accept the information yet, but we're definitely gonna do it at some point.
Mhm.
Just because he's so important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I remember when I was
You
in
would
middle
enjoy
school.
Kubo.
I love Kubo.
When
Oh
I'm-
yeah.
I love Kubo with the 2 strings.
Kubo is one of those
Oh yeah.
films where I do feel like it's perfect, except for the fact that they have an almost all-white cast for a specifically Japanese movie.
Yep.
There
It's
is that.
animated gorgeously. Is it
Ooh.
Blue Sky?
What?
Is it Blue Sky?
Leica?
Leica.
Leica does.
Yeah.
Paranorman. Also
Yes,
very,
very
good.
good.
Box Trolls. Fine.
That studio does amazing work.
Coraline.
Yeah. Yeah. I love their shit. They're the only big name people doing like 3D claymation right now, huh?
We have made an episode about Kappas, dear
Yeah.
Fanduin.
We did, and it the whole thing devolved into
It's
us
us talking about how much we would
how to kill a kappa,
how to kill a
how
Kappa.
much we wanted to murder a kappa. That was kind of what the episode devolved into.
I kind of thought they would be cuter because of Animal Crossing, but they're not.
They're brutal. They're
They're
not
awful.
great. They're
What's-
very mean.
what's-
We've
And
done Kelpies as well.
we have done kelpies, but kappa are like little like kind of amphibian-esque creatures. Maybe they have a
Yes.
bowl in the top of their head divot, and they hold water. And if you can like, they're pretty cruel, but if you can gain one's respect and get it to like bow with you, if the water falls out of its head, it becomes incapacitated.
So that's what you gotta
Wow.
do.
You gotta trick a kappa.
Yeah, there was.
You say we were gonna put like concrete in its head. or
Yeah, you wanted to put Orbeez?
something. Yeah, I wanted to use Orbeez to defeat a kappa. Yeah.
There was in Pathfinder there was a stat block in the bestiary for a kappa, and
Oh yeah.
I used them in a
Awesome.
one shot, Freeman, that chaotic one shot that we always refer to.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the asshole thing.
Yeah.
Kappas can pull your soul out of your butt in like a stone?
That's
Yeah.
right. When did this come up again? This came up another time recently. What was I talking? Oh, this was on somebody's stream.
I don't know what you're up to.
No, this was on Bree's stream. We were talking about this the other day, yesterday, whenever it was. Nico knows what I'm talking about. I think he was there. Yes, Monster Prom. Thank you for backing me up. Yes, this was a real thing that I learned about yesterday.
Yeah.
Huh.
Kappas are like brutal and awful.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan.
Yeah. I think our episode is fun, but
Mhm.
it's very aggressive. We get very aggressive about kappa.
I turn on them real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kappa 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Freeman, have you thought of any others from your
Yeah,
list?
vampires.
Ooh.
Lady in the Lake.
Ooh, yes.
We
Oh,
ta-
yeah.
We briefly touched on her
Lady
in our
on like well, because she's
Actually,
not really.
different
I was
people in different stories.
Yeah, yeah. But we
I
briefly
was-
touched on her in the Arthur's episode.
Fairly certain I saw a lady in a lake when I was a small child in Quilcene. I lived right next to a lake with swans that came every season. And one time I was walking early in the morning on this trail, which is an old railroad that ran through the property. I was walking along this old railroad. No railroad, of course. It's all gone. There's like maybe like pieces of like metal strewn out in nature and in the lake or in the river. And I look, and it's this really early, foggy morning. The sun's just peeking up over the trees, and there she is. And I'm just like stunned. I'm the stunned 10-year-old boy looking over at this woman in the water that's at least 30 feet deep. She's on the water, And
Like standing.
I
yeah.
love that.
and so I don't know what that was all about, but
I have never heard this story.
That's amazing.
I have
love
so
that.
many stories I can't tell them all one time. One time they have to come out slowly over a course of many years.
I got Freeman. I have a question for you. At that
Yeah.
time in your life, had you heard Arthurian legends that mentioned the Lady in the Lake
I
and described
probably
her
had.
rising like that?
Well, there
I
are
must have.
Non-Arthurian
There are a
stories.
lot of ladies in water.
Rusalka.
yeah.
True. Many.
Like 800 of
La Llorona also
La
has to do with
Llorona.
water.
lots.
Yeah, there's a lot of drowned women in folklore.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
that
but-
reminds
yeah.
me, Henry, the soap lady.
That's what I was thinking
Oh,
about.
the soap lady?
In Lake Crescent, which is out in Washington State too. I don't know. I just know that the story, as much as I know, is that a lady fell in the lake and died, and her body turned to soap because
Oh
of
yeah. It's
yeah, we saw
saponification. We saw a
We saw
saponified
her,
body
yeah.
Really?
when we
What?
were in Philadelphia
Yeah.
at the Motor Museum.
Yeah.
Saponification is a thing that happens when a body doesn't decay normally. Basically, the fats and oils in your body turn into this soap-like material, which you can't use as soap as far as I know. I don't know
Yeah.
that anyone's tried, but
I,
it has the same
not.
consistency and general
Huh.
chemical makeup.
It's really
Huh.
weird.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I learned this. So this lake near us has had a soap lady in it, I guess. Like I learned this story as a kid, and that's the detail I know is that somebody turned into soap
Yep.
in this lake, and like
That's the only part of it I remember too. Something about
I assume right now I think it's probably true, but I don't know the details of it. There's folklore, I guess.
Probably. I'm gonna find.
yeah. No, that's
I can find her name.
I always thought that was just sort of like some sort of weird legend around that around Lake Crescent, but it's actually apparently a real thing, which I learned
Oh,
within
she
the last
doesn't
few
have-
years. There's a real thing that can happen, but yeah.
Yeah, the woman's name is not known, but it's a material called a potassere, or I've got that in completely wrong, or adipocere, or adipocere, as like adipose. Yeah.
Ah.
That's what your body turns into?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
It's wild.
It's a very particular
It has to be like an
Decomposition.
extremely specific situation.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
Like you could do it on purpose. I don't know why you'd want to, but you could. But it has to be like accidentally in a very
Yeah.
very specific circumstance or like situation for your body to like interact in that
I
way.
would
It's
highly
wild.
recommend, if anyone is interested in this, reading the book Stiff by Mary Roach,
I
in
think
which
you
she
brought this up before.
describes it's basically life after death. What happens to the human corpse after death, both chemically, physically, like in terms of religion and disposal and stuff. But it's a very good book.
That's interesting.
Wow.
That's like you mentioned before. You're like not sure why, if anybody has used it as attempted to use it as actual soap. And I will say that somewhere people recently did discover a mummy with like weird fluid in there, and there are a bunch of people who wanted to drink that fluid. So it wouldn't surprise me, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Ew.
I can agree with that.
Wasn't it a thing this is getting macabre. Wasn't it like a thing to do weird shit with mummy dust in Victorian England?
Yeah, they would ship out mummy bits ground to pieces for what purpose was it again? Was
Some
it,
people would eat mummies. Some people would get turned
I
into
forget
like
if it
makeup.
was-
Like
if it was just a health thing, or
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the times it comes back to like infertility or stuff like that. But
people
yeah,
to just have
just
like,
to have
these. They just got disassembled. I don't. It's
But
that's a
people
really
did
wild
eat
story.
and
Yeah.
sniff probably.
Like
Snort.
put it in like a little satchel and like would like carry it around with them, like smell it or something. Yeah.
People are fucking weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was gonna. It's like, this is an obvious thing to say, but it's like time and distance
Guys.
makes you respect other people way less. You wouldn't do that with the body of like your
There's
grandparents.
A specific dye that they got
Oh,
from
yeah,
crushing
yeah,
up
yeah, yeah.
mummy bits. That's like mummy
Oh.
brown or something.
Yes,
And so,
that's it.
Yeah,
That is what it is.
that was one of the
Mhm.
uses.
Was it look? All right, everybody look up a swatch of that. Let's see how nice it is.
I did see something. Someone was trying to tell me about Amabi. Amabi? I don't know,
She's kind of like a mermaid, I think.
Ooh, cool.
Mummy
Nice.
brown. This picture is apparently painted with mummy brown oil paint.
Oh,
Interesting.
Weird.
With real mummy.
That's pretty weird
Well,
to think.
Dead
of.
man's pigment or caput mortem.
nice.
Egyptian brown.
Huh.
Let's see. I want to know if it's always been made from.
Yeah. There also notably was
Wow.
that ancient cheese that was found that people wanted to, like, we need to eat this cheese,
yeah.
remember?
Uh-huh. There was bread that has been found, I know, that same with the same. Mhm.
Really?
Yep.
Just the idea that this was going on since the 16th century. It only stopped in like the past 100 or so years. But the idea that people are like, you know, it seems like a good way to get that specific brown.
Dead bodies.
When people go back and talk about like the hidden treasures of Egyptian tombs, I just love the idea that all of those are mostly empty because ancient people robbed them
Ate
for
them.
weird shit.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, humanity's been eating and painting with mummies for
What's
millennia.
the saint bits that they would
yeah, relics.
disassemble relics? Yeah, they would
Relics.
have
Oh,
relics and
gosh.
popes and shit. and, like,
Famously, I
they-
believe a saint's body was smuggled into Venice by hiding it in a barrel of pork.
yeah, pork.
Because the sailors were Muslim and they thought, oh, if we fill a barrel with pork and put the saint's body in there, then they won't find it. And it worked.
There you go.
Saint bits. Yep.
It's not stupid if it works, but it is.
It's still
Not
think
a bit about
both can be true.
saint bits and reliquaries. The design of a lot of European churches,
Yeah.
this kind of square shape with a direct line from here to there, it's like a rectangle you can move in, were designed specifically to show off reliquaries, so they would just shunt people in and the
Take a
crowds
look.
would go in.
Put your eyes on it and now get out. Okay, more people in. Yeah.
Like exit through the gift shop type.
Yeah,
scenario.
exactly.
Oh,
That is. Yeah, that's the whole like
I-
commercialization of that kind of stuff in medieval Europe.
It's all advertised.
Thelgar, I saw that thread actually. There was a guy had a great Twitter thread about making ancient bread using yeast and leavening from ancient tombs.
Yeah.
I saw that. That was so
Yeah,
cool.
They have like the start, like it's so cool. That's really cool. I was talking earlier about like they found like
How else they
petrified
use-
bread,
That's
but like
not
Yeah.
dead.
in
How
a,
did they-
I don't know, an
Amazing.
ecosystem. But yeah, they found like
Yeah,
shit,
like
they
the
made bread
culture,
with
like
it.
they found like the
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I've
that's
been
cool.
making pizza, so that's kind
British
of
been
similar.
making homemade pizza for the past couple of days, and it's very, very good. I think all of you have heard about it at least once or twice.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I do want to say quickly, Geeko's brought up
Yes.
Coco, which has been on my list at least for a while of creatures that I want to do an episode about. So I have looked into it a little bit, but it's pretty
I
cool.
think I watched like a pseudo horror movie about that
Probably.
a while ago. In the dark hours in the night when
Mhm.
I'll watch anything.
It's perfect. Perfect time to do that.
Athagar brings up the black sarcophagus goo from a couple of years
Oh
ago.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh
Mhm.
man.
Or like it's
I don't
like
know.
the,
I will never understand humanity's obsession with consuming stuff found in ancient tombs. I don't get it.
I think humans in general have this weird thing where if something is really old and not natural, we immediately like put it on this pedestal. It's like the
Lol,
whole
but what if we ate it though?
what if we ate it though? I mean, look, humans, we do the two questions: can we eat it? Can we fuck it? And if you can't
Can
do
we,
the second,
can we sell it?
can we sell it?
Yeah.
And if you can't do the second two, you might as well do the first.
beautiful.
And, I mean, one of the first incidents of stolen extraterrestrial property was a technician stealing moon rocks, which he and his girlfriend laid out on a bed and then fucked each other.
Yes, I remember hearing that story.
I did not know that, but that's does not surprise me.
So
I don't
sad.
think they came up in our aliens episodes. Those were some weird episodes, though.
Humans.
Oh,
I
gosh.
still think the
Yeah.
most fundamental are eat or fuck.
Yeah.
Or kill.
I get,
oh yeah, that's true.
Can I destroy it? Can I fuck it? Can I eat it?
The classic choosing game: eat, fuck, kill.
Mhm.
You don't.
Famously,
You do all. I don't know.
just objects.
Oh Jesus.
So only objects, yeah.
They found
Excuse me.
the Victorian. I don't know if they still have it, but there used to be a secret. Oh, I think there still is in the V&A or the British Historical Museum. A specific like section for like anything that was lewd. So like phalli from ancient Egyptian
Stone Age
sculptures and stuff.
dildos.
Well,
I'm not kidding.
they would find they found several Greek dildos that were made of bread. Full circle.
Hey, you know
You
what?
can eat it and you can
There we
fuck
go.
it.
Yeah,
They
There
had
we
these
go.
Now
cabinets
that's
that
beautiful.
rich or noble people could go and like be given a private tour of the kind of inappropriate displays, which is all like just fertility idols and
Mhm.
illustrations of intercourse, like not weird, just they
Yeah.
The Venus of Willendorf being there.
Oh yeah, I fucking love the Venus of
Love
Willendorf.
Venus of Willendorf.
Mhm.
The Venus of Willendorf was named as like a mean joke, but she's like a fertility idol. She's thick, as the kids say.
She's round.
She's
really
yeah.
She's
cool.
one of the earliest pieces of prehistoric art that
Mhm.
has survived.
It's a really cool. I don't know if this is me from my favorite art history class. If most people know this, I don't know, but it's a really cool like piece of art where they can like speculate that a woman carved it because it looks like it's a figure, but if you look at it from the top, it looks like a perspective, like you're
Yeah.
a woman's own
Huh.
perspective looking down.
There's
So like the
Whoa.
the proportions would be from that angle as opposed to, it's really cool.
there's so much debate about because people are the way they are, they have to have these conversations of like, okay, in prehistoric civilizations, were men making the art or were women making the art? Because it can't be both.
Yeah.
But this comes up in a lot in the
Yeah,
theories
yeah,
of
yeah.
like, well, this could have been made by a woman. I hear they do things sometimes, but I don't think it takes into account how like rigid societal gender roles have a lot to do with like farming
Yeah.
and not like living
Yeah,
as
yeah,
people.
yeah.
Cool theory though. I think it's fun.
It is cool.
I really love that piece. It was cool to learn about.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I was laughing earlier because Amethyst Cat Lady says olive oil was popular in ancient Greece for a reason. Just saying, not just for
That's
food.
not a joke.
Yes. um, also, Nico earlier said something about. I recently learned about the Luisan. Do you guys know about them?
I don't recognize
I'm
them.
not sure I
Google.
do
They're
actually.
called-
I'm gonna do what I always do.
What was it? I
Um,
didn't catch the name.
Oh, okay. I do know this.
Oh yes, yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like a werewolf, but not really. But it's here. I'll bring up the. This is
That's
what
cool
it
because that
is.
was the next thing I was going to mention. Werewolves.
Yep.
Our werewolves episodes, we did it. That was our
These
a
are all
two-parter.
pictures of a gun.
Yeah, there's there's a video game. I think that showed up when I was
The
looking
point, it's similar. Yeah, Reaper werewolves. So
Yeah. Yeah.
similar vein of we love talking about people who are also animals, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think our werewolf duel episode was one of the first ones where I think our warning, this might be uncomfortable, actually came into effect. So we talked about some
Yeah.
pretty brutal stuff in that one.
Yeah.
But werewolves it's a wild topic. That's one that we talk about. A thing we talk about a lot on the show is like people ascribing supernatural like things to people they don't understand or people who don't look like the average person, which is why like you have to be gentle when you're talking about things like that. Like we have to have some tact because a lot of it was just like being cruel to people who
Yep.
didn't fit in, so to say. But it's a unique topic.
That's-
Dear Penguins has a really good thing, which is Luisan originally a kind of Reaper mythology, but became tied to werewolf mythos. That happens with a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
more distinct mythologies. That as things get globalized, it gets folded in.
I
It's
actually-
like Jiangxi
Yeah.
gets called like the hopping vampire, but they're not
Right.
really vampires.
That I'm glad you brought up werewolves, Freeman, because I actually think that that's probably second on my list to like the mischievous house spirits, right? Because
Hmm.
remember when we in high school when we had that class on like monsters in mythology and literature?
It was one of the better classes in that
It was
in
really
that
good.
school.
And I remember learning about all the different ways that like all the different like stories about people becoming werewolves, right? The different ways, like there's the one, like in some cases it's a curse, or in some cases it's like the weird the weird ones, like if you fall asleep in an open field under a full moon,
Hmm.
and like
Moon, yeah.
just like all the weird ways that was a thing. And like it was, yeah.
And our teacher actually wrote a book too that I don't recall the name of, but he wrote a book, I believe, right?
Yes, is called The Wolves Are in the Walls. Is that the name? I think,
Oh,
is that the name of?
No, that's by Neil Gaiman, I believe.
You're
No,
right. You're
yeah,
right.
Neil
You're
Gaiman
right.
does The
No,
Wolves
no,
on the
he.
Walls.
That's right. Because I just remember that
Um,
because he read it to us in that class. But
he did. That's where. Yeah. No, it was. What was his name? Was
Patrick
it
Jennings.
Patrick
Patrick
Jennings? Yeah,
Jennings.
he
Yeah.
wrote. Yeah, he wrote a book on. He wrote a
Did
fictional
he?
werewolf. I
Did
feel
that?
like he did.
Was that in the? Did we talk about that book in the class, or did he just mention it there?
I I believe he must have mentioned it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I honestly
I'm gonna
don't
look
remember
that
it.
up at
But
some
yeah.
point.
Um. Yes. Thank you,
We talked.
moderators, for slapping the
Yeah,
ban
thanks,
hammer
Lance.
Yeah,
on
thanks.
spam.
It's all about advertising.
it's all
We talked
Yeah.
in our episode on werewolves about the difference between American wolves and European wolves,
Yeah.
specifically how vicious they are. But the thing I didn't realize until recently is that even European wolves only attack people when there's not any other food source available. So the idea of it happening in famine, like when things
Oh,
are already
already.
really bad,
Oh,
no
interesting.
wonder they freaked out.
Yeah.
Which wolf is more vicious, American or European?
European.
That's-
Well,
Okay.
American wolves don't.
Very docile
Yeah,
in general,
don't
as long as
attack.
you're not bothering them.
Yeah.
But that's
All
where, like, I
right,
mean, that's
okay.
where
Unless they're
Good to know.
aggressed.
yeah. But like, that's where like the myths originated in like some
France.
myths in like European. I think it was like French wolves.
Yeah, it's
specifically. Yeah.
France specifically had the highest number of reports
Reports.
of
Huh.
Wolf attacks.
vicious wolf attacks.
Yeah. So like that was an idea of where some like tying into werewolf stories might have come in from real life wolves.
And this is just like wild speculation,
Yeah.
but if you want to make a link between that and like the multiple little ice ages that ran through Europe, makes
Yeah.
sense that you would have starved wolves
Mhm.
trying to survive.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Cool.
I think about that, and like, so
Eaten
not to
by-
like circle back to like to Tolkien or anything like that, but I know in like one of the things about like in the Shire's history that there was a
The
time.
fell winter.
Yeah, the Fell Winter, where like the river, like I think was it the Brandywine River that froze over,
The Brandywine froze over, and
wolves,
came
yeah,
into
wolves
town.
came into the Shire, and like yeah, it was a whole thing. And yeah, I love those connections to like the like finding connections, like
Pop culture to folklore.
yeah, but finding
It's
them
great.
finding them in that order, right? Like not like knowing it already and then reading it in like in a thing, but like finding it in the other way, right? Where
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
like you read it or see it in like
You're like,
pop
oh,
culture
I know
first.
that. I understand
Yeah.
this reference now. Yeah.
Yeah, like I
Do-
think that's yes, Henry.
Oh, sorry to
No, go
interrupt,
for it.
but do you think that particular example could be an example of like folklore as cautionary tale, like people intentionally or unintentionally exaggerating the like scariness of the wolves that came at these certain times, so people would be ready when the times were cold or
Honestly, I don't
famine-y?
think any of it is purposeful.
Yeah.
Human memory is so malleable, and
Yeah.
fear
Mm-hmm.
can shape it so much that I'd guess in the majority of those cases, it was just people telling stories of this genuinely
Right.
terrifying thing that
Mhm.
happened. I don't think, for the most part, people actually set out to say, let's make a lesson.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of things like if you go, some of the things are more ridiculous than others. Like there's a German folklore or cautionary tale, I guess, called Schnickelfritz, where it's like if you're naughty, Schnickelfritz will come with the scissors and cut off all your fingers. Like it's really brutal, and like that's not something that like people were actually afraid was going to happen.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of folklore things that people genuinely believed in, and like Bern said, accidentally become ways that we protect ourselves. So it's like the way that folklore and like interacts with like cultural and like societal and nature actually serves its purpose, even if it isn't intentional. It's really cool.
And we talk about like old wives' tales or whatever in the like general sense, but for a very long time, elders of societies were the only way information got passed on, and even later, it's proposed that older women would live longer because they probably weren't doing something quite as like inherently dangerous, but they were still handling like really intense situations like childbirth and laying
Right.
out corpses and death and sickness. So
Yeah,
makes
they'd
sense.
see a lot. They'd see a
Seen
lot.
some shit.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Huh.
We love folklore.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're continuing to shift uncomfortably.
Nope, my brain has been off today. Like it's been like just zero processing, nothing is happening. So,
I sort of
Show 'em your body wave.
I like the idea that like what you said, Bern, like that the stories kind of nobody was intending them to have a cautionary effect or anything. Like in that example, they just sort of grew in the way they did because of the way people think and because of the way people remember things.
Yeah.
Like that rings true. You know what I mean? Like I know my own memories are like that. They
Fear is a powerful emotion.
exactly
One
fear.
of the sorry, carry on.
No. Go on. I was vamping.
I think I was recently listening to a podcast. I don't remember which one it was. It was probably either Stuff You Missed in History or Stuff You Should Know, where they were talking about a case that ended up being the basis for a lot of work on why you shouldn't keep people in solitary confinement and why forced confessions are so common. But I like learning about received memory. It does make me think every once in a while I do have like a small crisis where I'm like, does the world really exist? Am I making this all up?
Yep.
Do I know my own mind? No, but
God, just wait till we talk about conspiracy theories.
Oh gosh. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, like that's Sorry, I actually had a related thing to say, but no, like I have definitely had those moments, those small crises as well, where I'm just like, isn't it weird how things exist? And yeah,
For me, it mostly happens when I'm writing and I'm trying to
yes,
act like think like another character, because I just get like, okay, can I make myself feel any way? Can I make myself feel this character even though they're made up?
Yeah.
And
it's so weird.
it's bizarre.
Like there are legitimately like there are certain stories that I have told myself over and over again because I've told them to other people in certain ways to save face, right? And about in certain situations, right? But like over time, then I start thinking about it and I almost like find myself having the memory of like the false story that I told. And sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, did it happen like that? And some like there's some that I know that like that story is not the real way that it happened, but I can't remember the real way it happened anymore. So
That's
like,
a whole other can of worms
Yeah.
about like in
Yeah.
science and like
Yeah.
the way brains work. Like
I love learning about lying specifically. Like most people are not in any harmful way lie pretty constantly because we make so many like snap second like cost benefit decisions of like, should I say this? Or it's like, I want to get out of this conversation, or I don't want to hurt this person's feelings. Like you weigh so many of those tiny decisions that you don't even notice it, and
Yep.
then white lies come out. And
to not even necessarily with lying, but like to wrap it into tabletop RPG games, like people have done, I'm sure a lot of you know this, but people have done studies where like playing through a scene in a tabletop RPG, you experience the same emotions and sensations in your brain and in your body as you would if you were like actively having an experience. Like the stuff, like the way that we experience things, like the human brain is wild. Like the impact that like telling a story together like that can have on your brain, like that's imprinted like a real memory with all of your other memories in your brain. Like it's really, really cool.
I was reading
Yeah.
something or theory crafting something, I forget where, but someone talking about how people get really militant about like fandoms and characters Specifically, they're talking about younger people, and the proposition is that these people have grown up in a world where they have just as many meaningful IRL or real interactions over a screen as they do in person.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, anything you interact with on a screen no longer is distant. Like, I'm talking to real people right now,
Right.
and I might have difficulty not having an emotional reaction or emotional tie to fake people on the screen, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
And valid.
Brain. Yeah, it's super
Whoa.
cool.
It's because it's weird because like our brains are just not, they're like not wired to deal with like that kind of with like technology and this particular medium of like screens. How do we differentiate? That's people, but also this is people. So like, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
like,
that's-
if people get really emotional about a character, especially love young people, it might just be that their brains are giving them the status of real person.
This is a person that I know and should care about. Like,
yeah.
it's cool. The way that,
Yeah,
Intense.
like
the
Geek
way
Outs.
that we perceive things is amazing.
Geek Out says the brain also can't tell the difference between what is currently happening and memories, in that if you remember falling down and hurting your knee, the area of the brain that are associated with pain light up in as an example, which is exactly why I cannot watch videos of like, you know, like the videos of people like falling and hurting themselves.
Oh,
Mirror
I can't do
neurons.
it.
Can't
Yeah,
do
I
it.
Oh,
can't do
fail
it.
army.
No, can't do it.
Fail army.
Absolutely not.
They're called mirror neurons. They're also why people apparently like watching sports and physical. Like,
You
I
get
love
hyped
watching
up by it, yeah.
dance.
Yeah.
You feel that elation as if you were performing that feat.
Yeah. Nico
Or,
has
pain.
Yeah.
Something crazy.
Nico has a great question that I think we can end on, which, first of all, Nico, thank you for struggling wildly to keep us on topic all night.
I think all of this is related. I
It all-
think
it
this
is all
so
related.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah,
way
yeah.
that we integrate how we perceive things into like our like the truth of our culture
Look.
and stuff is really cool.
Everything is connected to everything else.
It's like
I don't think we strayed too far. I think this is
No,
all
I don't
still
think so.
relevant.
Not at all. But
Sorry, what were you saying, Henry? Sorry, I
Yeah.
Henry.
oh, let me just say this real quick before we get to Nico's thing. I promise. But like the essence of what we're talking about now makes me feel almost like it's experiencing reality in the moment is your brain telling you a story, and also hearing a story is getting told a story,
Exactly.
and remembering like it's
Mhm.
all. It's all about
Literally true.
stories.
Why film works.
Yep.
Yeah.
We are prisoners in our own mind. Is anyone else feeling like a little weird now?
I just had like
We're a
one-
little bit existential.
I just had an
tonight.
almost
Definitely.
like one of those like zoom out moments, like not really out of body, but you know what I mean. Like,
You're
I've zoomed. I've done some zooming out here.
hey, well, we're
That's
on
the whole
Zoom right
meeting
now.
has been-
Anyway, there was a... anyway,
I should.
um,
All
right. so Nico's question, because Nico was bringing up earlier. Whoops.
Magic weapons?
Yeah, magic
what we're
weapons
talking
and artifacts and things like that. And so Nico's question was, what is your favorite folklore or tale or mythology involving an artifact like that?
We talked about this in our recent King Arthur episode, where this isn't a specific thing for me, but I didn't know until very recently that the sword in the stone is not Excalibur. That it's a different sword.
I hate that.
Excalibur.
I hate that.
Excalibur is the lady in the lake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know
Yeah.
that. That's a new thing that I learned recently.
And also, he had a bunch of other named weapons.
Lots of named weapons, which is what we've been asking. We asked people in that episode. We're like, we're gonna fill up our own round table. What's our Knights of the Stone table? What would your Knight of the Stone table OC be? And what's your weapon name? That's been
We're
fun.
still
Getting
accepting applications.
we
that
are
is fun.
hashtag Knights of the Stone table. It's been really fun to read what
Hell
people
yeah.
have sent us.
That's cool.
But yeah, that's only vaguely related. But yeah, that's my fun fact. Not a specific thing, but I think it's pretty cool.
Oh man.
Egg. Yeah, that one.
Oh, egg is a knight of the round table, right?
No, Koshay's egg is my favorite object.
What's that?
Koshchei the Deathless.
Koshchei the Deathless is
right.
very absurdly protracted phylactery, basically. I just think it's
He
funny.
he took his soul out, put it in a pin, put the pin in the egg's in a duck, the duck's in a rabbit, the
Yeah.
rabbit's in a box that's buried on an island in the middle of
Under
the
a tree.
ocean, under a tree in the middle of the ocean.
Perfect.
So a less effective Voldemort. And
Yes. You should really spread them out.
You
if
should
you're
really-
going
yeah.
to-
so
Yeah, wait a
so
minute.
it's
Yeah.
Also, why would you leave a marker? It's not like you're gonna go back later and dig it up. If
Yeah.
your goal is to live forever,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Everybody makes mistakes.
So soul egg.
Convenient ones.
yeah, soul
Yeah.
egg.
Wow.
Like,
Oh, that's cool.
Oh man, I'm thinking about so many different things. I'm like going back to my middle school Greek mythology obsession.
You know
And-
what? Yeah.
Go ahead, Henry.
The things that popped into my mind are almost more like weird, related to like pulp stories more than like things like
Yeah.
I thought of the Holy Grail, like, and then I
Mhm.
specifically as it is in Indiana Jones, and like, and then also this is kind of different, but the like these are things I don't know much about, but the spear of Longinus or whatever that poked Jesus,
Yeah.
like, and that must be important
Huh.
because I remember its name for some reason. And also the crystal skulls; those are more like I think a more like a weird Victorian craze.
fun story. The crystal skulls, I think, started out as a kind of art project. I forget the name of the artist, but they're essentially just an art object that was co-opted through
Assigned.
imagery, mostly on the internet, actually. But
Wow.
all I fucking know is that one of my art teachers knew the guy who had made them and hated his guts.
Oh,
And I thought that was really funny
Love the art world. It's great.
because apparently he made a lot of money doing not
Oh
very
my
much.
god.
the things that pop to my mind are things that are
course.
like I don't like modern interpretations or like fake versions of old shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
Assigning meaning to a thing that didn't originally have meaning,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
right,
Yeah.
exactly,
Pretty
which is
cool.
kind of like you know.
Or anytime that someone claims something has, like, I got this from the airport in China 3 years ago. It was handed to me by a beautiful woman, and I'll always remember her.
Oh.
Fake! Kaitlin handed it to me several minutes ago, but now you think of it as important.
Yeah, but
It's all advertising.
I'm gonna. What if I remember that story, but not the part where you said it was a fake story, and then I tell it to
That's
somebody
great.
else? What happens then? And it keeps
I
happening.
mean, I'm sure that's how shit comes to
Yeah.
be. That's how folklore exists.
Like, yeah, maybe
Look.
sometimes the stories are it's intentionally falsehoods at first, but nobody remembers that.
You gotta have
the
lies.
Moon hoax. The moon
The
hoax.
moon hoax, yeah.
Was intentionally a fake story about the moon, and like there's people living in the moon, but people like either missed the part where they're like,
Yeah.
this is
It's
satire,
people
and people
who turned in late for War of the Worlds.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so they were like, this is
I
a
love
thing,
that
and then they got
story.
pissed, and they're like, it's a hoax, it's all fake. Or they're like,
like,
no, it was
yeah.
never intended to be true. So yeah, that shit happens too.
Oh my god. Yeah. Freeman, do you have an answer for for Nico's question?
What was the question at this
It was
point? There's so
about-
many things firing off here at every
It was-
angle.
Objects, items, weapons
Yeah.
of lore.
What is your favorite folklore tale or mythology involving an artifact like the
Right.
magical weapons and things like that?
Oh, I had it. I had something. I swear I had something.
Is it your beaker? You
My
want to come up with some
beaker.
lore for your beaker?
Crystal beaker.
Tell us the tale.
What this thing here?
From whence did that object come?
I guess I don't have one off the top of my head. I would, yeah.
The one that comes to mind for me is like right off the bat is like Perseus and like the shield.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, like
Which, pretty fucked up.
yep, it really is. But that's the one that comes to mind for me because like that was the one that captured my imagination the most when I was like a kid, and I was like just obsessed with Greek mythology. That was the one that I was just like, yes, I love this.
I love this, yes.
But
You too wish to lop off the heads of your enemies and lock them to shields.
God, yeah, no, that's pretty not okay now. But no, that was one of my favorite Greek myths when I was a kid, and so that's the one that comes to mind right now.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Items are, I feel like you know more items than you think you do.
I like Sorcerer's
Right,
Stone
yeah.
because it's a thing that people actively were trying to make for
Oh,
in
yeah.
fairly recent history.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I mean, I have
Like Newton came up with his laws of physics, but he was also a fervent alchemist.
yeah. Well, no, and I like the thing is there was a few years ago where I went just sort of on a like looking in like I went like on a deep dive into like ancient like weapons that come from like magic weapons and magic items that are in folklore. So I know them, and there's some really cool ones I remember really liking, but right now they're not in here because I need to know them right now. So
That's exactly.
Aegis. Yes, the shield's name was Aegis.
Yes.
Yep.
Pretty heroic sounding considering.
Yeah. Bree says, wasn't
He was
Perseus
just
one of the only
fucking-
legendary Greek mythology heroes to survive his quest?
I don't know.
Yes, they say it in
Yeah.
Percy Jackson, the books,
Ah.
which makes it true.
Aha. Yes. There you have it.
There are definitely lots of failures in Greek
Yeah.
history, but
Well, also because a lot of Greek tales have like the point where you think they would cut off and say happily ever after. It's like, and then he got bored and he
Tried
cheated
again,
on
and then-
something, and
yeah.
his wife tried to kill him, and
there's always the footnote at the end.
just like people coming back and making up more shit about the same stories.
Yeah.
It's like how there can never really be a happy ending in like superhero comics because someone will always
Always come
pick
back
it back
and-
up to write more.
Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely.
I'm really loud.
You're fine. My mic is so quiet normally. You're fine. If we're yelling, we're probably good audio.
Okay. Well. I think we are now have passed the requisite 10 minutes post
Past when you're supposed
past
to.
when we're supposed to end. So
Whoops. That's good.
oh no, it's not a whoops at this point. At this point we just plan for it.
Common happens
Yeah.
every episode.
Literally every single time.
It's like bar clocks that are 10 minutes different. I can't remember which way. Oh, never mind. I can't think about time. Let's go.
Fair enough.
So we're gonna go Ramblemancy After Dark.
Nice. I like that.
Joke's on you. Where we are, it's always overcast, so it's always after dark.
Mhm.
All right, we're gonna go. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for coming and talking about folklore and perception and is anything real and all of that. And
You can find Stone Houses at Stone Houses Cast on Twitter, and we're on most podcast platforms at this point. If you want to find us, go to anchor.fm/stone-houses, and you can find all of them there, and also the RSS feed. But yeah, we try to release episodes weekly. We have topic art that goes up on Twitter to promote or to announce the new topics. So that's always fun. But check us out. It's more of this. It's just this. It's just this.
They're very
really
charming.
is.
I think I will listen to the Arthurian one tonight.
Mhm.
I heard most of the Moon one. Which is the latest one, maybe. I liked it a lot.
all right. Well, Kaitlin and Bern, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Kaitlin,
This is very fun.
we've been talking. I feel like we've been talking about having you as a guest since like one of the first couple of episodes of Ramblemancy.
Oh, like a year ago,
like
maybe? Yeah.
forever ago. And yeah, so I'm glad we were finally able to do it in a context that had nothing to do with another show on our channel.
Yes.
So and Bern, it's good to see you again, and thanks for being with us. All right, so everybody, as Amethyst Cat Lady says, fix your posture, unclench your jaw, wash your hands, stay the fuck home.
Yeah, epic.
And
It's the epic move to do.
yeah.
Gold.
And remember that what day is it today? Friday? That's what it is.
Friday.
So remember that. So today,
For at least
this
the next hour and 15 minutes.
right.
On the coast.
Earlier today, the latest episode of Infinite Horizon went up on our YouTube. That's episode 8, 4 Against the Universe. You can find that on our YouTube. The podcast will be up on Sunday, and tune in for Dreamwell Chronicles on Monday, where John will be running his D&D 5e game. And yeah, we will see you the next time you decide to come roll with us. Good night, everybody.